From new guy to kind of seasoned veteran flying in Iraq, where do you think the line of luck and skill intersect?
Dude, that is a great question. And I will tell you that's something that really kind of nagged at me quite a bit while I was doing it because I very much believed you have to believe that you're damn near indestructible to be in the right mindset to strap into an aircraft and go do some of the things that we were doing.
Yeah.
But you do have this series of close calls. And one of the things that I had the hardest time with at home between deployments was when things got quiet and you actually had time to sort of reflect and think. I would ask myself that exact series of questions. Are you good? Were you lucky? Was it divine intervention? Is that real? I mean, it's all these huge questions you can't possibly answer for yourself. And there's a randomness to death, if you will, that can really mess with you. You've had this experience, you've survived it, you've had these close calls, but at the same time, you're very aware that other people around you, in some cases, people you perceive to be much more skilled than you are, met with a tragic ending. And so you constantly have this awareness that it could happen any day, any flight, any time.
Yeah.
And to deal with that, and I don't know that everyone does this, but this is certainly what happened with me, is I got very quickly to this phase of what I call acceptance, where I just assumed this is probably how this will end for me. And I have to be okay with that. Because to not be okay with it would be prohibitive to continuing to do it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So you
Yep.
sort of build this mindset, this mentality over time that allows you to function and be who you need to be in that environment. But I was initially, I will say I wasn't totally aware. It just kind of happened. And then once it did happen, that's when I started to sort of question myself and feel like, am I crazy? Like, because I actually got to the point where I liked it. And I wanted to fly the craziest, most dangerous flight on the darkest night all the time. But consciously, I knew like that's probably not normal. Like you probably shouldn't want to do that. You're not
Right.
having a typical reaction. But honestly, it wasn't until later that I started to really recognize and at least better acknowledge those things to myself and understand that the experience was having or had an effect on me that was certainly different than a lot of the other people around me. And the way I always described it was over time, my observation was, say you got 30 pilots in the squadron, the vast majority of them are kind of in the, what I call the middle group. They're trained, they have the fortitude, they can do it. Like they can execute in combat, but they don't particularly like it, but they can do it. On one extreme, you got one or two that find they just can't do it, period, right? Like call it your goose scenario, or what, I can't remember the guy's name now who turned his wings in Top Gun.
Maverick.
Yeah, whatever. Cougar. It was Cougar
Yeah.
that turned his wings in.
Oh,
But you find
sorry.
that a couple, yeah, one or two guys like that, you find like they just can't do it.
Yeah.
But then on the
Yeah.
other extreme, you got a couple weirdos in the squadron that just thrive in that
Yeah.
environment and seem to actually be enjoying themselves. And I ultimately realized I was one of those.